That's terrifying. That's what keeps us up at night.
Hey, this is Hoala Greavy, founder of Paubox. We're here in sunny, warm Portland, Oregon. I'm here with Nick John from Redox. And Nick, can you tell me more about your role at Redox?
Sure. I started at Redox not as a security engineer, as a solutions engineer doing odd jobs from a technical perspective, helping with sales and other things that the company needed. I shifted onto the operations team and eventually onto the security team, and now I lead our compliance and trust regimes.
And what does Redox do?
Redox supports applications to expedite their development and deployment in the healthcare world. So we help applications connect their systems to health systems, and we help health systems get access to those applications and deploy them more rapidly.
Great. What does seamless integration mean to you?
Seamless integration, it's interesting, it's part of what we do, and I think it's part of what you do as well. I think in both cases, seamless integration, the ideal is that you make it easy to exchange data. So for Redox, we look at health data in terms of lab results and notes and ADT information to get from one system to another. In a similar way, Paubox does that too, in that you don't want to do anything extra. You just want to send an email and let it go and let it be secure and have confidence that it worked. The ideal in both cases is that the parties involved, the sender and the receiver, don't need to do anything extra. It's as easy as possible.
That's right. What makes Redox different from other integration platforms?
I think a big angle that we have is the network that we're building. So the idea is that an application that wants to seamlessly integrate, any application that wants to exchange this data smoothly, can build a connection to our platform using a format that's comfortable with them. They can use HL7, they can use Fire, they can use our APIs. They only need to build that connection once, and then they connect to all the applications and all the health systems that are in the network. So as the network grows, it has a multiplicative effect. So the more health systems that are in the network, the easier it is for them to connect to applications, and same as applications come in, they can connect to more and more health systems.
That's really cool. Can you tell us more about the famous taco nights that you folks do?
Taco night. We like to have fiestas. Yeah. Who doesn't like a fiesta?
I've been to a few of them, yeah.
When we're at conferences, we like to throw parties, and a lot of those parties end up being exactly the same. They're pretty dry. It's a lot of handshakes and business card exchanges. We wanted to do something different and a little more interesting. So we have more of a party. We have a dance party, and people can dance, and they can have a Redox. It's a nice way to keep those events pretty fun.
Right. I've been to one of those with the Redoxes in SF.
It's great fun.
Yeah. So what was your workflow at Redox before Paubox?
So we were in a position where we were working with customers and needed to exchange PHI during troubleshooting exercises and other situations. We found that it was clunky at best. We couldn't use email, we couldn't use Slack, which is our primary modes of communication. We explored some open source tools and ways of sending encrypted emails, and all of them required a lot of effort, both on our part and also on our customers. In a lot of these cases, it was emerging, it was in the middle of the night as we're troubleshooting. There's a time component. We wanted to do it as quickly as possible, and we wanted it to be easy. We didn't want to be this platform of making our customers' lives easier and then have this really awkward way of exchanging email data. In most cases, our solution was to use our customers' secure platform and hoped that they had an email platform that was secure and we could use.
Mm-hmm. Right. And what's life like after implementing Paubox?
It's great. It's seamless integration in its best form. Right now, when we're troubleshooting, when we're exchanging content, we just send an email. So it doesn't require a lot of thought. In fact, most of our staff probably aren't aware that it's even there. We have that confidence that it's there because we get a watermark in every message to say it's been encrypted. So we know that it's working, but we don't have to think about it. We don't need to use special headers. We don't need to use a separate system. So it's as easy as I can imagine.
That's freaking awesome, man. How do you think technology can make healthcare more efficient?
You know, I think one of the biggest challenges in healthcare right now is access to data. There's a lot of innovation going on in the space, and healthcare itself is a laggard when it comes to that. So there's new inventions, there's new technologies we could make use of that are really struggling to emerge in the market. And the challenge is access to data. So someone will come up with this brilliant application to find better utilization for providers in the city. So someone builds this app, and all they need to do is grab the provider schedules of every doctor in the city, and they have a really efficient way of finding you the next available appointment. Sounds amazing. The challenge is that getting your access to all the provider schedules is really difficult. It's a ton of work. That's impossible in today's market, and our goal is to make that easier. Interoperability has been a challenge in the industry for years, and it's only now that these technology solutions are emerging that makes that easy and possible.
What's your biggest concern when it comes to healthcare security?
I think the industry at large, we're all facing very similar problems. Ransomware, spear phishing, or social engineering in general are big vulnerabilities. Ultimately, it's the risk of a PHI breach. That's terrifying. That's what keeps us up at night. Figuring out ways of ensuring secure communication, ensuring that you're talking to who you think you're talking to, those are increasingly important. Phishing scams in the past were really obvious. There wasn't a Nigerian prince asking for your information. Now they're getting so sophisticated that you get an email that looks like it's coming from your CEO. Training needs to be improved, but as well as the technology and ways of verifying that people are who they claim to be.
I read a study, they called it the overconfidence dilemma. And it was the common user thinks they're smarter than the scammer. If there's a typo, it's a scam, but if it's not a typo, then it must be legit.
Exactly.
And they actually get hacked at a higher incident because people's overconfidence in phishing these things out.
Yeah, so a lot of it we train caution, right? Or if you receive an email that you weren't expecting, you ask the person in a different way. You check on Slack, you give them a phone call. So in a way, it's improving communication. But yeah, you always have to keep your guard up.
What podcasts are you listening to?
Podcast. I'm a big fan of 99% Invisible. It's a design podcast about the hidden things that shape the world. And so it's things that you never gave a lot of thought to why they designed it in that way, like city benches or something like that. I really find that interesting. I'm also a big fan of the Dinner Party Download. It's formatted around the format of a dinner party, so you have an opening line, which is a joke, and then they have cocktails, and they'll have someone design a cocktail with the theme of a famous historic event that happened on that day sometime in the past. It's a really interesting story arc for this. It's conversational, it's lighthearted, but they get famous people, they do interesting interviews. Sometimes it's kind of tender, sometimes it's funny. It's a really entertaining podcast.
Go check those out.
Yeah.
Cool. And where do you see the future of your industry going?
Future of the industry. You know, I think there's a shift. Right now, there's a lot of power in the insurance companies and also in the EHR vendors, depending on kind of what sector you're looking at. I think there's a shift moving towards patients. Patients are becoming more empowered. Patients are taking more ownership of their health, and they're starting to make more demands. So if you look at something like GDPR in Europe, for example, that's an effort to give more control to patients to say, you can't have my data, or I want to know what data you do have. So patients are starting to assert that control. I think in the future, patients will want to have all their information. I'm holding my hand as if I have a phone, but they want their access to their own data and to control who gets it. One of the tragedies in modern healthcare is that you can get care one place, and then let's say an emergency happens somewhere else, and they may not have access to your record, and they can't make decisions based on something that was happening to you yesterday. So in the future, I hope that patients can say, you know what, you're my doctor, of course you get that data, here it is, right? To serve it up more from the patient-controlled aspect.
Yeah. Nick, thanks for having us at your office today. Really appreciate that.
So glad you could make it to Portland.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.